What's up everybody, I'm Sean and I am hands down the best web developer in this video. In this video, I'm going to teach you what are the essential tools that you need to be a coder, to be a web developer. This is the third video in a series on how to build a website with your own custom code, not using WordPress or another content management system. So this series is not for the WordPress warriors or the drag and droppers. This series is for you if you want to be a real coder. If you don't know anything about web development, that's fine. You can be a total beginner, but you need to know that you want to be a serious coder and build websites with your own code from scratch. And if you missed the first two videos, go check it out. The first video is on what are the differences between building a website with WordPress versus using your own custom code. And the second video talks about the things you need to know before you get started with building a website. Now, if you want to be a good developer and build good websites, you need the proper development environment. And the hard thing about getting started is if you go out there and Google developer tools or what do I need to be a developer, it can be overwhelming. There's so much information out there and you're like, what the do I do? But don't get overwhelmed by all the information out there. There are really only about 2 things or maybe like 2.5 things that you actually need to have and know how to use. The first thing you need is a good code editor. I prefer to use Atom Code Editor. A lot of people use Sublime Text, Notepad. There's a lot of different code editors out there. Google them. It doesn't really matter which one you use. Just make sure you're using one because you're never going to get anywhere trying to be a developer if you're writing your code in Microsoft Word. The second thing you need to have or know how to use anyway is your browser's developer tools. Now, I recommend you use Google Chrome browser and its developer tools. Almost all browsers have some version of developer tools. Me and most people, I think, in the dev community are gonna agree that Google Chrome is probably overall the best browser for developer tools. You could use any browser, it doesn't really matter, I suppose, but most people are gonna recommend Chrome. And the other thing that you need to know how to do in your browser, which is why I said 2.5 things essentially, is you need to know how to view the source of a web page in your browser. Whether it's viewing the source of an actual page that someone else wrote up there on the internet, or viewing the source of the page that you just coded and you're testing out in a browser, you need to know how to use view source within your browser. Now, there's an entire gamut of other software tools and things like that that you might be interested in depending on where you want to go with web development and what you want to do exactly. But in terms of building a website, creating a web page, testing it out, and then eventually putting it up on the internet, those are the 2 most important things that you need. You need a good code editor and you need to know how to use your browser's developer tools. Within that, the ability to view the source. And those 2 things are all you need to be able to test out your web pages and your code in a browser. Once you learn HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript, which the next 3 videos are going to cover all those topics. Once you learn those 3 things, then all you need is a good code editor and the ability to use your browser to test out your web pages and see what they would look like if they were actually up on the internet. You just save the file with a .html extension on your computer, you open up that file in your browser, and through the magic of the internet, there it appears in your browser. And if it actually looks exactly the way you wanted it to the first time, well then congratulations, my friend. You have just mastered the internet and you are the one who should be given these videos. It's not gonna look the way you want the first time, or the second time, or the third time. But as they say, the 28th time's a charm. So keep trying and eventually you'll get it the way you want. Web development coding is difficult. It's all about perseverance and discipline. Now, if all you want to do is front-end web development, which is what the user of a website sees in their browser, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, if that's the only coding that you want to do, then a code editor and learning how to use the developer tools and view source in a browser might be all that you need. However, if you want to go further with web development or if you want to do any back-end programming, things like that, then there are some other tools that you're probably going to want to know how to use as well. And these tools can also be useful for front-end developers as well. The first one of those is Git or GitHub. GitHub is a company that provides hosting for software development and version control using the Git system. Now, what that does, what version control is let's say you're writing some code or a piece of software and you save it one way, you create one version of it, but then you want to make some changes to it or adjust it, see how it looks. Then you create a second version. Instead of having to delete all that and save it all again and go back and figure out what you did, what GitHub does is allows you to save the different versions of your software every time you make changes to it. If you look in the description of the video down below, there's a link to a beginner Git course. Check it out if you're interested. Drop a thumbs up on your way down there. There's also a link down below go to a beginner course on the command line. Now the command line is a huge thing that, you know, we could have a 1 hour and a half long episode on it. You can do so many different things with the command line. Among them, you can open up a web page via the command line in your browser. There's a whole bunch of different stuff you can do. You can run Python programs. Like I said, it's way beyond the scope of this video or even this series, but the command line is a tool that you might want to learn to use if you're becoming a serious coder. So check out the link below if you're interested in that as well. You should also probably learn how to use MAMP, WAMP, or ZAMP. And I'm not speaking an alien language. That's actually what they're called, MAMP, WAMP, and ZAMP. Listen, I'm not positive on ZAMP on the pronunciation. Some people might say it's SHAMP, but I think it's ZAMP. Anyway, MAMP is for Mac. It depends on your operating system, which one you should use. MAMP is for Mac, WAMP is for Windows, and ZAMP can be used by any operating system, Mac, Windows, or Linux. Anyway, what all of these AMP softwares do is allow you to run dynamic web pages and web apps essentially locally on your own computer. They allow you to run PHP code in your browser and link it to a backend database. And if you're not familiar with any of this stuff with PHP or SQL, PHP is a backend programming language, very common all over the internet. SQL is a database language. This is all more advanced stuff. We're going to talk about it in a later video in the series. Now, the last type of developer tool that I'm going to recommend that might be good for you to learn would be a graphics editor or design tool, something like that. I'm not an expert on these at all, but there's a bunch of different ones out there. There's Photoshop, Figma, Sketch. Like I said, I'm not an expert. Google it. Google's your friend. Use Google. Figure out which one is the best for you. All these editors will allow you to create prototypes of your web pages. It'll give you a better picture of what the design of your web page should look like before you just go out there and try to start coding stuff and see what it looks like in the browser. It looks terrible in the browser for the first 27 times, which is a mistake that I've made personally many times, but I'm getting better as I go along. So that's it for this video. If you're a beginner web developer and you watch these first 3 videos, you should have a good understanding of what you need to know before you go out there and start coding and trying to build websites. And in the next video, we're gonna get into some HTML for real. And if you, my oh so tech savvy friend, want to learn web development and get started right now, check out the link below to tomorrowscampus.com. We've got a database of over 1,000 web development courses on all subjects. And I'm not just talking about how to build websites. I'm talking about all subjects like artificial intelligence, mobile app development, machine learning, game development, backend programming, databases, all sorts of stuff. Check out the link below, tomorrows-campus.com. And by the way, tomorrows-campus.com is an example of a website that was built with custom code, not with WordPress or another content management system. I built it all with my own custom code. So check it out down below if you want to see what a custom website can look like. And I want to remind you all that if you want to learn web development or any other skill really, especially a tech skill, but web development in particular, you do not need a college degree. I have no college educational background or even a high school background. I didn't know anything about web development until I started studying it online. You do not need a college degree to be a web developer, to find a job in it. You do not need to spend a lot of money to learn how to code. Check out the link below to tomorrows-campus.com to learn more. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment if you have anything to say. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already to get notified when the next video is coming out. And hey, in the meantime, go out there and save the world with the amazing code that you write. See you next time, guys.